Why have some of the biggest brands in the world absolutely brainwashed us by their propaganda? iPhone here, I've got another iPhone up there in the overhead shot. AirPods, I've got AirPod Maxes over there. I've got an iPad, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini. In today's video, we're going to explore how Apple have managed to catch me with their propaganda and millions of other people. Even companies like Nike do the same. You look at Elon Musk and what he's doing right now. He has a massive propaganda. And whether you agree with these companies, brands, people or not, they are building a cult-like following. And in today's video, we're going to explore how we can learn from it all, take the good, leave the bad, or what you perceive to be bad. And really, this whole propaganda playbook is built on 9 different pillars, and I'm going to break them all down right now. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chris Bradley. I'm the owner of the MRR agency and fitnessads.ai, and I help business owners go from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50k and beyond with their online business. Obviously, there's no income claims here. I'm sharing all the tactics and strategies that I share with my clients. You just get it months later after my clients have used it, got results from it, and then I come on YouTube and I create these videos so that you can one day hopefully pay me money and get results, to be perfectly honest with you. But listen, there's going to be a lot of value here, so I want you to pay attention. Before we get into it, I used the example there of Apple and Nike and Elon Musk and all these types of brands and people, personal brands. When I go through all of this, you can think of Christianity, you can think of any religion that you have observed and seen, even for the ridiculously bad movements that you've seen in history, whether that's Hitler's movement, all these types of things. Propaganda is often seen as this really bad word that you're manipulating people, and maybe it was. I've seen a lot of these types of videos going about, and I've even done a training with one of my mentors, John. Shout out to John, who kind of done a training like this, and I learned from it, and I tweaked it, and I kind of made it my own for me to learn it and how I can push my propaganda of MRR and all this type of stuff. So as I go through these examples, I'm going to show you kind of my propaganda, and I'm going to show you, I'll give you famous examples as well. So anyway, enough chatting, let's get in. So before we go into any other pillar, the most important pillar is you need a core belief. So you need a core belief. Now, again, we may not have these businesses the size of these huge companies that are really pulling the strings in society, but I want you to really think about the core belief that your business has. And if you don't have one, go back to there, right? Or some of this stuff that I'm about to cover seems exciting and you might want to go there first, but you need to start off with the core belief of your business, or your core belief as the founder of that business. What do you believe? And so for us, we clearly believe that MRR is the most stable and predictable way for you to build a business. Now, we still believe in, all the other elements of running a business that we think works, but our core belief that we hedge our bets on in order for if you think about dream clients that want to get the dream result, we believe the vehicle, or the best vehicle, is MRR. You think of ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson, who's massive on this propaganda stuff. He's also got a video on this. One of the things he focuses heavily on is to build ClickFunnels was, you're just one funnel away. Build a funnel. You don't need websites. So his big core belief was the best way to build an online business and make money online was to build a funnel. That's his core belief. Now, as I go through all of these, I want to reiterate that the core belief has to be a belief that you believe in truly and you're willing to back yourself. So I'll happily go on any podcast or do any video with any other business owner and debate MRR happily, because I believe in it truly, because it's changed my life and it's changed the businesses that I serve and help's life as well. So core belief, you've got that locked in. The next thing, let me just get this pen a little bit wetter. Here we go. So the next thing is, just like any amazing Hollywood movie, we need a villain. So who is the villain of this propaganda? So when you think of Apple, just off the top of my head, you think of Apple is all about innovation, all about simplicity, making things sleek. It's all about, innovation, and it wants to help the dreamer dream of how things can become a reality. So if you just have to watch Steve Jobs' talk on when he released the iPhone, and he spoke, the villain then was BlackBerry. BlackBerry and these types of phones were the villain then. And if you watch that talk that he done, the way that he highlights the villain is amazing. And a lot of people these days will shout about things that they don't agree in, and they call them out and they do it that kind of way. That's okay if that's your style, but there's a classy way to go about the villain. So you have to have a clear villain. When you think of like Christianity and stuff, you have the devil, you have sin, you have temptation, you have chaos, you have all of these things that you shouldn't do that the Bible says. And so that's the villain. So if your business doesn't have a villain, then it basically sometimes is the opposite of what you're shouting for. So for me, if I think of MRR, we have a lot of villains. But for us, it's like, you know, waking up every day and posting organic content every single day for 10 years is just a definition of insanity for me, and your business doesn't grow and you're literally praying to the algorithm. Now, we've got a whole list of villains that we pull from, so I'd recommend you do that. But what's the number one villain? Think of that first and that'll help you. Okay, next up is kind of similar and they tie in nicely with the core belief, but you've really got to make it a reality. So if you think about the core belief, that's the thought process behind it. We believe this is the case. We believe this is the thing that does this. This is why you should follow along with us. Now, the next one is the new model. So if you imagine the core belief, the new model is just how you do it. So I give the example of Russell Brunson. He believes that the best way to make money online is to build a funnel, a simple funnel, as opposed to a website with multiple pages. I'm going back to the very, very start of his story. I've paid Russell quite a lot of money to learn from him. I've been over there and went to ClickFunnels Live and all that good stuff. And I bought his course. So I kind of know his whole, that's why I keep referring to him. But his model was like, this is the type of funnel you build. If this is the type of business you are, you build a 2-step funnel. This is the sort of headline. This is subheadline. This is what you should put in the video. And this is how you get them to click and buy. So he created a whole model around this core belief. And so for me, the model for us is we believe like in an 80-20 MRR and pay in full model. So we believe that 80% of your revenue plus your savings plus your profit should come from MRR. Then we believe 20% should come from pay in full sales. We believe that model, when we install it into businesses, it provides a ridiculous stability and safety and security for the business owner, but it also makes sales exciting and not overly reliant on it, because that's what stresses a business owner out. So really, really think about the new model. What's your model that you're going to bring to the table that stems off the core belief? Next up is, now that you've got your core belief and your new model is live, it's not just theory, you need a proof loop. So this is really, really simple. You need people that are out there telling stories. You need testimonials. You know, you think of like the Bible and things. You think of miracles and testimonies of people sharing about Jesus and what he done and how he did this and how he did that. Again, like Christianity and all that stuff is not my forte. I just learned some stuff along the way, and I'm trying to give examples, different types of examples in business and religion. But the proof loop should come from testimonials, case studies. And some people say, oh, I've got loads of them, but if it's not everywhere on the internet, you're not going to start a propaganda. Like, you're really not going to get people to buy into all of these things. Especially when we go really granular and we think about social media. It's always difficult to tell stories about results. It's always hard in a business sense to do that. But if you've got people walking about, speaking about how amazing your business is, that proof loop, you know, you think of like, the way that Jesus Christ had people in all the different, in the New Testament and stuff, you think about how it all passed through. People were telling it from hundreds of years later, and you think of back then, it wasn't exactly as if people were texting people, was it, about it, or doing videos. His propaganda carried for so long, and his legend and his myth and all these types of things. So that's the proof loop. And again, listen, I want to stop very quickly here, because it all sounds a bit ridiculous, doesn't it, when we tie this into business? But this sort of stuff's been happening for hundreds and thousands of years, but it's happening now in business. And when I help a business and they're struggling, and I go on their pages and I look at their website, I look at their offer, there's just nothing for people to get excited about. I'm not saying you create the next Apple. I'm saying if we can learn from some of this, we're going to inject our business with a lot of purpose and direction, okay? So that's the proof loop. Next up, we have a language system. Now, this is where, for me, it gets really exciting, because if you have a language system, that's when people can get involved. That's when people can say what you tell them to say. That's when they go on and pass words on. They use your language. They use your tone. You almost have like mini yous dotted about that can represent your business very, very well. So obviously, when we think of like the Bible, we think of verses, rituals that happened at that time, symbols, symbolic gestures, phrases, songs. Now, you might not want to do songs and phrases in your business, but for me, we have like MRR, we have the kings of MRR, we have the lifestyle empire, we have the 80-20 pay in full model, we have, a couple of funny slogans that we get our clients to talk about and stuff. Don't run ads and definitely don't stack MRR is a big t-shirt that I wear a lot. So you need a language system it's not really your IP, but it's kind of tied to your IP that make people that associate you with that. So in the UK, like there's not a person in my space who won't associate me with MRR. It's just impossible for them not to. I've actually got MRR tattooed on my leg. So if we talk about building a propaganda, I don't think it gets much better than tattooing it on your actual leg. And that's what I've got. Anyway, I don't recommend you do that for your business. But language system, done, locked in. Next, we have the mechanisms. So the mechanism, this is where you have things like the texts, the traditions, you have leaders, you have structure. So you have a structure to your business. So if you think about a propaganda, and imagine people come into my world right now, they know the belief, they know the villain, they know the new model we're using, they can see it's working, they've got people in this community that are following this propaganda. They've got a language system that they use and they say and they know how to behave and act. Next is the mechanisms, like what is the structure within this particular business or your particular business. For us, it's obviously we've got our main program and then we've got a higher tier syndicate offer that we do. We have a complete done for you process end to end with ads where we build ads for literally to take you right up to the pound where you close the sale. We do all the rest of it. So we have certain mechanisms within it. We also get our clients to build lifestyle empires. We track all their data. We get them to input all their spreadsheets and we give them a dashboard where they can see it and they can understand how to move based on data, not emotion. So there's a lot of mechanisms that goes into your business and I'm sure you've got them. So after that mechanisms, we come to the hero identity. So this is, what the kids are calling these days is personal branding. But if you think about the hero identity, this is where you really think about, I'll give the example there of Jesus. We've got Steve Jobs, we've got Elon Musk, we've got these people who are the hero for this propaganda. They're the face of it. They're the person leading that identity. And, this is where this particular hero had a journey that they went through. And these people followed and they resonate with this particular journey and they're all in, they're behind them. They know the suffering that you went through. They're with you all the way. And this is the identity. The hero has to put himself forward and say, or he or she, and tell the people about their struggles and therefore the identity that the hero wears. Can you start to see how this is so relatable to religion? So whatever religion you follow, it's all the same. It's all part of it. And I find it so fascinating that, how much sales and marketing has changed over the years, but it's not really, has it? It's actually just like it stayed the same pretty much. So we have the hero identity. Then we need to think about, if we've got the hero identity, we need to think about the enemy identity. So we mentioned there you've got the villain, but what's the actual enemy identity? What does it look like? How does it show up in every single day life? And this is where, like, if you think of Christianity again or any other kind of religion, you have to think about the non-believer, the sinner, the outsider, who's like, how does that show up? So how does the villain show up in everyday life? So if I keep it really business and simple here, when I think about the 80-20 MRR model, I think about businesses who earn 30, 50 grand one month and next month they're down at 12k because they never got sales that month. So because all they do is charge up front, they don't think about retention or they don't think about recurring revenue. So how does that show up? Well, it can show up if I go really granular. It can show up in stripe screenshots, revenue high, revenue low. And, this is where, if I was to turn it into a marketing angle, this is where it's like, look at your revenue. This is what happens when you don't have core belief and MRR model like us. And see how it all ties back. And once you get this right, like, you're never ever going to be struggling for content marketing again. Like, this is solid stuff. So enemy identity, how does it show up? Like, what does it look like? How can we pinpoint those people so that, one way we deter people from coming into this propaganda, but two, more importantly, we draw people into it. You think of Apple, they're very, very clear on the type of people they want to use it. Whereas Samsung's a little bit different. And again, they'll have their own propaganda. I use Apple because I prefer it. But they have their enemy identity as well. You know, one of the big things, as Steve Jobs literally pointed out, is he showed you a BlackBerry with all these buttons, and it was all the kind of handhelds at the time businessmen were using. And he was like, what about just get rid of the buttons? And so the enemy identity had buttons, and it was clunky, and you had to get the stylus out and stuff. Crazy. And now I've just drawn right over my bit. So that's the enemy identity, and we're almost done. Second last one here is, sorry, it's the last one, is relentless. I'm going to write this in black here because it was an accident, and I meant to write it in red, but let's just pretend it wasn't an accident. Relentless consistency. Now listen, this is the same message for hundreds and hundreds of years. You look at Christianity, you look at the same message. You know, granted it changed as it got past the scribes, whatever, all slightly changed. But it's the same message for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. The hero's not even there to tell the story anymore. The story's been told, and it's continuing to compound and have a massive following. You think of Apple, the relentless consistency. Can you drop the ball sometimes? Yep, they've come under some criticism when Steve Jobs left and the new guy came in, and you know, is Apple actually innovating anymore? Or are they just charging more money? But anyway, you think about relentless consistency. Most business owners can't keep with the same message for a couple of months, or even at least a year, 2 years max if you're lucky. Whereas, you know, for me, like if I was talking about MRR and then next year I just change it all of a sudden, I'm never going to build a propaganda. I'm never going to build a following of people who want the full benefits from MRR. So I want you to really think about this. How relentless are you with your message? You know, you've got the sign above here. You've got my t-shirt on that says MRR. I'm using red pen and black pen. You know, I could show you a whole host of stuff on the other side of this camera. Everything is all about showing you the propaganda that is MRR, the MRR agency, and exactly what I do. So let's connect the dots here very messily. Of course, I was going to draw this shape, and then I was like, yeah, that shape won't work. Let's just draw it to the right and just so it finalizes it. Here we have it. And this is it. Some crazy looking 9-sided shape, but this is the propaganda machine. And I want you to go and install this into your business. Go and figure out your core belief. What is your main core belief that you're going to take all these people on this journey with you? Who's the villain? What's the new model you're going to install to do this? What's the vehicle to do it all? How can we start to get the proof loop of this stuff happening? What's the language system so everybody can talk and act and be along with this propaganda? What are the mechanisms that you're going to use? What is your hero identity? Tell the story to these people. Who's the enemy identity? How does it show up? And go and be relentlessly consistent with your message. Anyway, hope you liked the video. If you did, comment below. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.